of production consumption, and I've lifted this from a report called One Planet Business, which is by WWF. Down here you have consumption, all of the products and services coming out here, and you have the value chain all the way from sort of mining the raw materials, transporting them, processing them, turning them into products and services, and putting them out onto the marketplace. Now, everything that happens in this part of the system depends on natural ecosystems. It's either stuff that grows in the wild or is grown artificially, or energy that comes from the sun. We depend in every single thing that we do on the natural environment. And if that collapses, we all collapse. You could be removing individual bricks from a wall and it'll stay standing for a while. You can say, oh, it's okay. In fact, it's not bad because we can see what's going on the other side. There will come a day when that wall will undergo catastrophic collapse. In producing all of these products and services, we have impacts, environmental impacts, climate change, toxicity, water shortages, and so forth. This is the level of carbon that was in the atmosphere at the time of the Industrial Revolution, 280 parts per million. We are now running at somewhere around 380, I think it is, and we're expected to rise to at least 450 over the next few years. There's a straight correlation with temperature. Anybody who tells you they're not correlated, it's not caused by human development, is not telling you the truth. Because if you look at the predictions of climate models, and you program those models to either count in or to ignore the human activities, you will see these blue lines here, these blue ranges, represent expected temperature changes without human activity, and for areas all around the world. And you can see that without exception, they do not correlate. What they correlate is these pink ranges, all of which show including human activity. Private consumption is about 3 tonnes. There's a couple of tonnes worth of heating for our homes. Food is a really big one. Cars, obviously, air traffic, household devices, building and construction, water heating, and consumption within the public sector. For a lot of products and services, the impacts of manufacturing them are far smaller than the impacts of their use during their lifetime. So a car, for example, the most important thing with owning a car is how much you use it, because 80% of the energy, the CO2 emissions during the lifetime of that car happen while it's being driven, not while it's being made. We've lost around 30% of all the animals and plants on this planet in the last 30 years. That's 1% a year. And as that's happening, as plants and species have been lost, you can see our ecological footprint has been steadily rising. If everybody tried to live like we do in the UK, we would need 3 planets to support us. If everybody tried to live like the average US citizen, we would need 5 or 6 planets to support us. 1.1 billion people currently lack access to fresh, clean water, and 2.6 billion people lack adequate sanitation services. And 95% of the future population growth is expected to come in these countries of water stress. And this is undermining the ability of the natural ecosystems to support our economic system. 70% of nature's provisional services for business are in serious decline. And at the same time, the world population is exploding. The richer the country you come from, the higher your footprint is likely to be, because you can afford to buy more products and services, and you can afford to travel more, and so forth. We are steadily converting natural ecosystems to human ones. Half of the land in Asia has now been converted for human use. We've got to get ourselves out of this mad system where, in order to be happy, we have to rape the earth and run down natural resources. This economic capital in the middle, which is constituted by markets, business models, technology development, innovation, production and trade, needs to be nourishing natural capital, restoring biodiversity, protecting resources, protecting our climate, reducing levels of toxicity in ecosystems, and enabling those ecosystems to exist in a state of stasis. At the same time, we need to be providing equity for humans, because if you can't afford to educate your children, put the next meal on the table, let's face it, you're not going to worry about the environment. We don't want to walk into a supermarket and have to feel guilty about what we do, and yet we are. If you look at these numbers from the Co-op, for example, they do this ethical survey every year, and they found that 35%, this was in 2005, 35% of people feel guilty about what they are currently buying. Okay, to me, and that's up from 17%. I'm very mistrustful, by the way, of self-reported opinion and behaviour, because people do tend to say what they think you want to hear. So what's significant to me is how these things change from one year to the other. And it's doubled since 1994, in just 10 years, twice the amount of people feel guilty. That's a commercial opportunity. You know, if people are not feeling good about what they're doing, it's a wonderful opportunity for businesses to go out there and deliver what they do want. And as I say, consumers really are conflicted about this. It's a great quote from Ian White. Says, "I rise in the morning torn between a desire to save the world and a desire to savour the world. This makes it hard to plan the day." But we can help them to plan the day. But right now, we're not doing it very effectively. The best way of reducing your carbon emissions as a consumer, in this country anyway, is to avoid unnecessary flights. As you can see, this is the axis here, low CO2 impact and high CO2 impact. Avoid unnecessary flights, use more efficient vehicles, use the car less for short trips, and install insulation. And then the next kind of group of things down is about wasting less food and using energy more efficiently. In other words, sort of becoming more efficient in the way that you live your regular daily life. And what you find is that the really difficult things to do, which are kind of giving up your flights and getting rid of the car, people just don't want to do. And they're not doing as much as they are doing these easier things, which tend to save them time or money. And so very often, the best thing to do is to deconstruct it and say, well, think about how much it's going to cost you, not just to buy my product, but to use it in your industrial process. And if you break it down, you can see that, yes, your cost for chemicals is going to go up, and your cost for water is going to go down, the cost of energy is going to go down, the cost of disposal is going to go down, and you won't have to employ any external service providers to help reduce your environmental impacts. And overall, you're going to be spending 14.8% less on my product than you would on the competitors. And so very often, the best thing to do is to deconstruct it and say, well, think about how much it's going to cost you, not just to buy my product, but to use it in your industrial process. And if you break it down, you can see that, yes, your cost for chemicals is going to go up, and your cost for water is going to go down, the cost of energy is going to go down, the cost of disposal is going to go down, and you won't have to employ any external service providers to help reduce your environmental impacts. And overall, you're going to be spending 14.8% less on my product than you would on the competitors. And this is the approach that not only Henkel take, there's a company called Interface, which I think are doing wonderful things in the world of carpet tiling. What they do is they say, well, actually, when you buy our carpets, you're not going to be buying carpets, you're going to be buying carpeting services. So we will lay the carpet for you. At the end of its lifetime, we will come and we will take it away, we will recycle it, and we will provide you with a new carpet. And it's a little bit more expensive than if you were just to straight out buy some, the cheapest industrial carpet you can get. But at the end of the day, it's helping you to sell to your clients and to realise more value from your products. Every single pound that is spent on anything pretty much in this economy comes from business. Even if it's charitable donations or whatever, it's leisure, it is generated by business. So business has an absolutely fundamental role in delivering that spending power and that quality of life to consumers. But it also has a responsibility to respect laws and to behave ethically, to source its products and services responsibly and from sustainable sources, to be efficient and to cut out waste. We waste ridiculous amounts in this economy. I think 40% of the food that we buy is chucked away, which, considering the impact of food, is absolutely ridiculous. It's about editing and influencing consumer choice, providing recycling schemes, innovating and setting examples. When you invite people to a dinner party, you don't expect them to be perfect, right? You just expect them to kind of share the same values, be your kind of people, and be good fun and good entertainment. And I think that is the kind of relationship now, compared with when I started out, as I said, business just told consumers the way it was. It's much more of a two-way thing now. I think if businesses stand up and say, look, we're an airline, right? We provide a useful service getting you to from A to B. But we know that it's inherently unsustainable from environment, so help us to overcome this. But the crucial thing is that you do engage and that you actually take responsibility for making this change happen, because it's crucial for the future of this planet, for the human species. And that's it.